Alrighty, ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, welcome to Step Back Tonight for today, June 22nd, 2021. I'm your host, Tristan. Hi. Light is on point because I have my studio lighting set up for tonight, so that's good. I decided to do it up all nice for you. I was recording a video today, so I got the nice lights on so you can see me in the best possible light. I'm your host, Tristan. I'm run YouTube channels Step Back History and Tristan Won't Shut Up. I stream on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Mondays from noon till 2 Eastern with Mia Mulder. And then I do Step Back Tonight. Or Monday is called the Monday Discourse. But on Tuesday night I do Step Back Tonight with which is just with me, which is what you're watching right now from 7 to 9. I go by he, him pronouns. You can find my work at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. If you want to support this thing that I'm doing, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory and support my work for as little as 84 cents a month with a yearly subscription. Everybody, even $1 patrons, get access to early videos with no ad break. So you are helping me, you know, do this and have it be my work. And you're helping me, I give you content early. And depending upon how approval and stuff works this week, it could be a lot. Like, I could be, inshallah, I'll have a video ready for everybody on Thursday at some point, and I might not be until Monday until the next video comes out. And no sponsorship, which, you know, some people like that. Another way you can do so if you have Amazon Prime is to go to my Twitch and do an a Twitch Prime subscription. They are included in your Amazon Prime membership, and if you don't use it, you know, Jeffrey Bezos just gets to keep your money. So you might as well use it on some creator. If you choose me, I'll be very grateful, but you know, please. And as far as content goes that's coming up, my latest video is almost 2 weeks old now. It's on being a prepper. And my next video, which I am currently looking at right now in Premiere, I'm kind of checking to see if a technical difficulty I noticed shortly before the stream started carried over into my videos. Specifically accidentally pushing the mute button. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like, for the most part, everything's fine. So that's good. My next video is going to be the next part of the White Power series. It's going to be on Ruby Ridge and Waco, and the militia, the rise of the militia movement in the late '80s and that kind of stuff. So that'll be fun. Next up, we've got, if you want to submit a link to, if you want to submit a question, I'm going to give you a link. So that should get you a good start for future streams, possibly tonight, because there are not a ton of streams for the stream tonight. So depending upon how much of a ranty versus question-answery mood I'm in, you might be able to get something tonight if you submit it right now. Yeah. And what else we got? And also, new people. If this is your first time watching one of my streams, hi, hello, welcome. Please make yourself known in the chat. We've got a very active chat community, and so please take a look, say hello, join the. Been painting a house. My shirt has white splotches on it. Yeah, I was just wearing an old shirt. Sorry. But I have not been painting, no. Sorry. This is embarrassing. All right. Okay. So, first of all, J-Lord joining in already with the $5 Aussie dollars. You could buy so much Vegemite with that. In Australia, we have had 0 people killed by police so far. However, we have had 1 cop murdered by a criminal. Okay. That doesn't, change my position. The police are still a horrible institution that need to no longer exist. It's pretty rich to be like, yeah, well, our state apparatus, it doesn't do horrible things. Because your country has concentration camps. So, if I join your ooh. Hey, Becca, thank you for the 15 British pounds. If I join your Patreon, can I ask for reference material you used for previous videos? Probably. I mean, you don't need to join my Patreon to get that. You can probably just send me an email. And if you're looking for something in specific, I can find it for you. So keep it around, usually. Might have some trouble if I'm on an old hard drive, but I might be able to dig through my memory and find what it is that I used if it's a really old video. Alrighty. But you don't need to join my Patreon to do that. Some people making statements because of the, what's it called? My use of synthwave music instead of my regular lo-fi. I don't know. I like synthwave. It's a good. I like it. Does sound like I'm an 80s sci-fi movie though. Please tell me you saw the H3H3 Crowder Cedar incident. Oh yeah, it was beautiful. It's beautiful. Anyone who didn't see that, I thought H3H3 was like a bit of like a I thought he was like an anti-SJW guy. I obviously clocked him the wrong way. But apparently, Steven Crowder, conservative grifter who is famous for debating 19-year-olds who haven't had media training and then owning them with facts and logic. That actually, I think that's more of a Shapiro thing. But Crowder does a fair bit of taking a 19-year-old who doesn't know anything and then, but has their heart in the right place, and then confronting them, ambushing them, and then being like, "Ha! You couldn't answer my questions. You are a failure. So much for the left." So he's been dodging Sam Cedar, who is the host of a sort of progressive podcast. I don't even know what you would call it, but a progressive show called The Majority Report. And Sam Cedar's been trying to interview him for years, and he's always been dodging. So H3H3 sort of set up like an ambush debate. And when he showed up, Crowder freaked out and ran away like a scared little child. So, yeah. So everybody, the internet's been collectively making fun of him. So that's fun. Gotta say, love the hair. Hair is also on point. Jeez, okay. Thanks, I guess. This is... I don't even know how to feel about this hair. Because it's getting hot out, this is like peak COVID hair, because my hair has never been this long, ever in my life. And haircuts are still not going to be open for another few weeks, probably. At least another 2.5 weeks or so. And so, and even then, trying to book a haircut for when things open up is going to be an absolute nightmare, because I hate this haircut. I'm glad some people are liking it. People are thinking that it's really fun and wild. And it would be okay if it was long enough that I could start tying it back, but it's just not quite there yet. Not quite at the point where I can tie it back. So I just have this big puff, and I don't know what to do with it. All right. 100 people were at Trinity Bellwood today defending an encampment of residents. Negotiations began early this afternoon to get people to see housing. Cool. Very good. I did see, there's pictures of, tons of police at Trinity Bellwoods today. So it says, take from Bad Empanada. Quebec should be forcibly anglicized. Ooh. Any remnant of Frenchness must be eliminated. Anglo-ness is evil versus Frenchness. God damn. I don't know what the hell his issue is. I imagine this is a joke. Although I've heard that Zoomers don't say joke anymore. Now you say meme. Meme is dash, just replace the word joke. So now you say that you're memeing instead of joking, which is one of the weirdest fucking things on. When we begin leap forward history, oh boy. I was getting dangerously close to doing a productive tonight. So glad there was a stream. Oh boy, saved you from that. Hey, there is Jesse. Hello, Jesse. Jesse did, Jesse Gender is in the chat. Howdy how. She was in my latest video. This is from 5 minutes ago. Okay, she might not be here anymore. But yay! Glad to see you popping by and say hello. It's good to see you around. I loved how many people in the comments of my latest video are like, "Is that Jesse Gender?" And it's like, yes. Yes, it is. Have been following the situation in Toronto with cops clearing out homeless encampments. Not super close. That's basically, I've said everything I know at the moment. Because I was, like, filming all day today, so I didn't look at the news. Crowder just debates college freshmen outside of campus, where Shapiro does it at university auditoriums. Oh yeah. You can't be an anti-SJW and still hate borderline fash like Crowder. I guess you can. Next time we sneak Richard Wolff on when Jordan Peterson does a podcast. Oh boy. Oh man. Richard Wolff having Jordan Peterson pinned up against the wall and having Jordan Peterson have to explain what he thinks Marxism is would be the funnest thing to see ever. Did you see Ben Shapiro's ban crime tweet? Yes, I did. Yeah, oh man. Ben Shapiro says the dumbest things sometimes. Let me find this tweet because it's really funny. So Ben Shapiro had this tweet that's very much online with his like selling your underwater property type thing, which was let me find it here. It's so good. I tweeted it. I retweeted it. So I'm just like searching through my little timeline right now. Let's see. Yeah, here. So it's a quote tweet of somebody saying, "What would you ban? Wiley, sugary drinks, Donovan, food deserts, neighborhoods with no parks, Morales, ban bodegas without fresh fruits." And then Ben Shapiro just said, "Notably, nobody said crime." Thank you for somebody wanting to make crime illegal. Solid. The Lib Dems want to save Tory seat in a by-election. Do you think that's going to be a major theme in the next UK general election? The Lib Dems pick up tons of seats because the two major parties are so awful right now. I don't know. I don't know anything about British politics, honestly. You probably have to find somebody a bit more knowledgeable on the Brits. Bodega, is that a store? Yeah, it's sort of like what's it called? Like a New York specific word for a convenience store. But it's like a bodega is sort of like a convenience store that also has like, you know, like I always think the difference is like you know, like a convenience store is just a place that you can go and get like a pop and chips or whatever. But like a bodega is like where you're gonna have like very limited groceries and stuff like that. So, because I lived above one when I lived in Toronto. Alrighty. There was somebody, okay. I don't want to make anything happen, but there should be some sort of buddy stream because there's somebody in the chat. So there's Jesse Gender in the chat, and then there's also somebody in the chat named John Bender. And having like the Tonight Show with Jesse Gender and John Bender just feels so... That rhyming is just too good. Did you already cover Peru and the left leaning on economic issues with socially conservative president? What's your take? I don't have a take. I don't have that much knowledge about what's going on in Peru, and one of the things that I try to do on these streams is to not talk about things that I don't know about. Like, I can't speak to a lot of things because I only know about a few things. Because I'm actually, like, not the smartest person in the world. But I tend to only talk about stuff that I know about because I'm not a man-bun debate streamer. So I tend to, I tend to only talk about things that I've done research on. So it's not a chain, it's a word for type of story. Yeah, like a bodega's what's it called? You live in Toronto. A bodega is kind of like a, oh my god, what are the name of those places? Let me just check real quick. Nope, okay. It's Puerto Rican for tienda, yeah. All right, here we go. That's what I was looking for. God damn, okay. Yeah, like, like in Toronto, like a sort of like a Rabba, you know? Like a corner shop, convenience store. It's just like a word for that. And yeah, I guess it comes from Puerto Rico because there's a huge Puerto Rican population in New York City. Yeah. Can't believe I forgot the name Rabba. God, I lived like literally above a Rabba for 3 years, and I live in London for 1, and I forget. Why do people vote conservative or liberal in Canada? What do conservatives run in countries where it's less socially acceptable for conservatives to run on social issues? In Canada, a lot of our elections, a lot of the conservative liberal flip-flop voters, it has a lot to do with basically 2 things, which is how well the conservatives almost always just run on balancing the budget. That's basically the only campaign issue they usually have. Balancing the budget and economy. Like, our Canadian conservatives run almost exclusively on, like, supporting oil, supporting our energy sector, making sure that the pipelines are built, like that kind of stuff. And liberals run on, well, we support all of those too, but conservatives are just better at convincing them that they're not. So a lot of times it just comes down to what their vibe on every individual leader is. So if a swing voter likes the vibe of the conservative leader more than the vibe of the liberals, i.e., they're just mad at, they either like what the prime minister's been doing or they don't like what the prime minister's been doing. A lot of times, like, Canadian elections come down to referendums on how well the prime minister's been doing, basically. Should make a video one day on the Oka crisis and the Gustafen Lake standoff. Both are very interesting elements of Indigenous history I feel go underrepresented. The Oka crisis would be an interesting one. I have plans kind of where here's the thing. My income is like, you know, my income is less of a thing that I have to be concerned about these days, which means that I'm not like constantly worrying about videos getting demonetized and like, you know, things like that. Although I'm still like, you know, happy to try to contribute to, you know, my my income and everything like that because this is my job and everything. But when I get to 100, but the thing that's been really motivating me lately is getting to 100,000 subscribers. And I've sort of given myself permission that when I get to 100,000 subscribers, I'm going to start making videos on things that I want to make videos on instead about like what I'm doing now, which is sort of like really heavily focusing on stuff that I know is going to perform well. So in the future, I'll occasionally make videos on topics that are like, you know, going back to more like traditional history documentaries and like doing things on like the Oka Crisis or something like that, which is something that like I know will not perform well on my channel, but I feel like is a good thing to make. And so I'll probably like, you know, get on that at some point. Because I want to. Because when I get to 100K though, that's when I want to do it. And I'm close. I'm like at almost... So last time I looked, I think I had like 91,700 subscribers. So another 82,000 subscribers or so, or sorry, not 82,000, another 8,200 subscribers, and I'll be at 100K, and then I can like relax about my channel's performance, I guess. Aren't conservatives and liberals almost the exact same thing? Liberal ain't left. Yeah, it's true. In Canada, liberals and conservatives are virtually identical parties. It's just that they have a very different branding, and a lot of Canadian voters, it's down to how they feel about the branding of each party. Because the liberals are good at saying progressive things while doing conservative things, and conservatives are conservatives who do conservative things. So it's basically whether... So a lot of times, like, I always think about, like, my mom, because, like, I don't know if my mom's ever voted conservative, but the way that my mom thinks about politics seems to speak a lot more to, like, how Canadians think about politics, which is just, like, their vibe of the party leader. Like, my mom... We were talking about the Ontario election lately, and how there's probably going to be one next year. There has to be one by next year, anyway. And, you know, Doug Ford's coming up for re-election. Everyone's super pissed at him. My mom was like, I don't know. I don't know who to vote for. They're all so bad. And I'm like, you mean like there's explicitly good or bad parties? And she was just like, yeah, but like I don't like Doug Ford. He's awful. But like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel about Andrea Horwath because of an NDP policy that happened in like 1991. And it's like, what? An NDP policy that happened in 1991 under a premier who has since left the NDP and joined the Liberal Party and wrote an entire book about how he didn't like the NDP for being too left-wing. And it's like, okay. What? That is more how Canadians think about elections. Ben Empanado went on a Twitter rant calling for the assimilation of French Quebecois. Any thoughts? I think it's a joke. That's my guess. Are you aware of the Hanau terror attack in Germany last year? A right-wing shooter targeted sheesh lounges because minorities, and then the police dragged their feet in dealing with the shooter. No, this is new to me. How do you think of public universities in red states will deal with these anti-CRT laws? Like, it's my understanding that you can't teach a decent course on something like modern American history without including CRT. My guess is that... I don't actually know. I imagine it's going to be different for each university and every teacher. Like, if I was in a school where I had like marching orders to teach American history without teaching CRT, I would just not do it. And then if I was, I would not do it. And then hopefully I would be able to like make like an ACLU case or something. But my guess is like, they'll either teach the history, but they won't teach like the theory behind the history. And then if somebody like claims them on it, they can say, like, well, I'm not teaching CRT, don't worry. I'm just teaching that racism is real. But my guess is that it'll be fraught with problems, or more likely it's a law that's not really going to get enforced all that much unless some student decides to whine, which conservative students are huge whiners, so that could happen. Fun fact, I can tell the difference between butter and I can't believe it's not butter. No, you can't, Mr. Simpson. No one can. Any World War II videos in that plan? I don't know. I struggle to find a thing about World War II that I would find very interesting. Which I know is like, you know, spicy take, but like World War II in a lot of ways has just been done so much. There is so many, like, you know, like half of the History Channel's dedicated to it, and like most history YouTubers do so much stuff on it that if I were to do a World War II video, I would need to do it on something very unique, or something that is like really cool that I've not heard of, because it's just been done to death, you know? Hey, thank you. What are my thoughts on tankies? I think in many ways they are people who talk a big game on Twitter, but for the most part, we have more in common than they like to think. And that, you know, rubber hits the road. They're, like, I dream for a day where the differences between Marxist-Leninists and anarchists actually becomes an issue where I live, you know? Because if we're having doctrinal differences between anarchists and Marxist-Leninists, I feel like we've already made a world where things are a lot better than they are now. My mom always goes on about Ray Days and thinks the NDP are bound to ruin the country and province too. Yeah, every boomer fucking hated Ray Days, and yeah, it's such a dumb thing. Any comments on the NDP and why they've trended down in the last couple elections? Mostly because the NDP have trended down the last couple elections because of, well, I mean, racism. They've been going down ever since the NDP got Jagmeet Singh as the new leader, and a lot of the seats lost are in Quebec. And in Quebec, there is a lot more targeted racism against South Asian people and people from the Middle East and just brown people in general. And our prime minister wears a turban, which is literally a thing that you cannot legally wear in public office. Like, you can't be a public employee in Quebec and wear a turban. So there's like a lot of like anti-Sikh, anti-Muslim like hatred in Quebec. And so Jagmeet Singh becoming leader of the party has caused a lot of the like loss of seats. And just the fact that yeah, that's the main thing. And that, like, yeah, the liberals are notorious for... Oh, and also, like, the Bloc Québécois have come back in a pretty big way. And a lot of people are kind of frustrated with the NDP's, like, lack of being really aggressive on climate change stuff. So there's been a small amount of movement towards the Green Party, although I think that might be over because the Green Party is kind of falling apart right now, so it's complex. Thank you, J-Lord, for the Aussie dollars. It's delicious as Vegemite sandwiches. No, I wouldn't say that. That's mean. Vegemite tastes like garbage, and your super chats taste sweet and delicious. Americans are the same way in the voting way. Like, my mom, who only voted Republican once in her life, voted Bush in 2004 because she hated John Kerry's personality. Yeah. But the thing is, like, in Canada, you don't vote for the Prime Minister. You vote for the MP who's running in your riding. And, like, my mom will vote for the Liberal MP in her seat because she likes the leader of the Liberal Party's vibe more than the other thing. And also, there's a lot of seats where, like, you could vote NDP, but it would be a waste of time because that party is not really established in that seat. And it's like a liberal, like, there's a lot of ridings in Ontario, for example, which is like kind of like the suburbs of Toronto decide a lot of elections. Cause it's kind of like our, like, you know, purple state type, like it's our battleground state, one of our battleground state type areas. And every riding, it's like, is this because there are some ridings that are blue-orange ridings. There are ridings that are orange-red ridings, and then there are red-blue ridings, and so and then there are some that are truly competitive in every single way, and there are many that are completely safe seats. So, like a lot of times, like I live in a riding where the NDP is almost completely non-competitive. Where the last election that I ran, that I was involved with, that was here, the NDP didn't even start like campaigning until 2 weeks before the election. So, what are my thoughts on CRT? It's like basic good stuff. It's basically just like the acknowledgement that racism is real and that we should probably talk about racism in context of American history. A country that has been virtually defined by the legacy of slavery and the racial caste system. Like the racial oppression of black people is like the core identity of the United States. And you can't really talk about America without talking about that. Or you're just doing fucking hagiography, in which case you're not really doing anything useful. You're teaching bullshit. So I think CRT is very useful. I have plans to read like the sort of like seminal critical race theory reader at some point. So maybe more when I actually can report on that. But I haven't read that book yet. Right now I'm reading How Fascism Works, which I just started. I just finished today a biography of the Prophet Muhammad, which was very good. Is there any genuinely new scholarship on World War II at this point? There is. There actually is. There's still a lot of work to do for World War II scholarship on a lot of stuff. Like one of my friends when I was in grad school has sort of really gotten popular because he wrote an entire book. He wrote a World War II book that was fucking fascinating because it was about Canada after World War II and about the ways that basically the ways that the war environmentally impacted the world. So he did a whole book about how World War II, like how about dealing with things like the toxic compounds that were in like the bombs on fighter planes, and like how as they are degrading in the oceans that they're releasing all of these chemicals, and that like he can use like sort of historical records about all of the stuff that crashed and all the stuff that got dumped into the ocean to like sort of figure out when those things happen and when they're going to become issues based on like their decay rates and stuff. Like the thing is, like after World War II, he focused on Canada because, you know, we're in Canada, but like countries had so much supply because they had this huge war machine that was just pumping out planes and tanks and guns and bullets and like all that kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden the war is over and they couldn't just like stop production right away. And so a lot of these countries ended up with like huge oversupplies of military surplus. And some of that stuff is very easy to find other uses for. Like a lot of World War II airplanes got repurposed for, you know, various other tasks. But some were difficult. And so he did a whole thing. His whole project was focused on how Canada like retrofitted its economy to move from wartime to peacetime, and how it used all of this military equipment that it had to sort of repurpose it into peacetime equipment. It was a pretty cool book, and like environmental history is sort of a new topic, and environmental history mixed with World War II is also like kind of new scholarship. So like there is still like genuinely new stuff. Another person I know who did a World War II project was studying, he was doing a project on the lives of German POWs that were sent to Canada during World War II, and how they like, what their lives were like in like these like labor camps in like Northern Ontario and like out west and stuff like that, because after the war they were just taken down or abandoned and like nobody did any work on them. So he like went to these sites and tried to like dig around and try to reconstruct what it was like there and all that kind of stuff. So Yeah, that was pretty cool. What about a review on the Sharp series? British ranks, Sergeant Harper. I kind of want to do a video about Raoul Wallerson. I think that's Raoul Wallenberg. I really want to do that. Reminds me, one of the coolest things about Star Trek Picard is that they mentioned that their refugee carrier ships were called Wallenberg class ships, and I thought that was really cool. Because Raoul Wallenberg was sort of like a Swedish version of Oskar Schindler. Oh, hello. I agree on Vegemite. Also, can you elaborate on the alleged link between social democracy and imperialism? Man, okay. J-Lord, we have to have this. Thank you for the money. We have to have a long conversation sometime about how you seem to think that if you give me enough money, I'll turn into a social democrat, which is not a thing that I'm going to do. I don't like capitalism. It is horrible. It is the most destructive thing that has ever been conceived by mankind. And social democrats are just people who think that if you put the right makeup on it, that somehow you're going to make it not the most horrible thing ever invented by human beings. How about videos on the Catalonians during the Spanish Civil War? I did that one. I did that one years ago. Do you think red state public universities will just drop all humanities subjects? No, I think that, like, they'll probably just teach American history just like the sort of, like, nationalist hagiography history that, you know, most Americans learn in high school. So yeah, alleged link between social democracy and imperialism. Okay. Social democracy is trying to put a left-wing lipstick on the fucking nightmare creature that is capitalism. Capitalism is a exploitative form of basically creating human misery to funnel as much resources into as few hands as possible. That was developed to justify the acts of slavery and colonization, and today puts billions in forms of oppression and living on the edge. And no amount of, like, you know, a few programs to sort of bevel the edges of it is really going to make anything better. So yeah. What's the most surprising thing you read in the biography? Oh, the Muhammad biography? What I did not know a whole lot about the context of Muhammad. So, like, the best thing about the biography of Muhammad was learning that, in a lot of ways, his coming to prominence with, like, you know, dealing with, like, the Quraysh tribe and everything like that was actually, what was very interesting about it was that in many ways, the tenets of Islam are a response to the political context of the period, because Islam sort of came up in this period where there was this very established tribal like society where, like, loyalty to tribe was, like, paramount, and there was, like, a very toxic culture around, like, you know, masculine bravado, like, acts of charity were considered were more done to show off how great you were, and, like, and there was just, like, a whole thing about, like, raiding and just, it was brutal. And so when Muhammad showed up and he showed that, like, you know, his big thing was, like, greatness isn't being like charity should not be a thing you do to make yourself good. And so, like, he put in a whole thing called the zakat, which is basically like a tithe that Muslims still pay today. And it is not money. It is not something fancy. It is just money that goes to the poor. It is not money that is tied to you. It just goes. And like Islam means submission, and Muslim means like a sort of like a kind of servant word, and it's supposed to be all about this thing about how like all people are servants of God. Like it's so like there was a lot of trying to take the like ego out of a lot of these people, and it was a lot of like attacking those like powerful rich elites in Mecca, and it's like, okay, this is like this interesting like social backlash against the excesses of this era, led by this guy. And it's like, okay, that's really interesting. Have you changed your opinion on whether it's possible to run a military dictatorship in the U.S.? Last week you said you thought it was too big for that, but it seems to go against what you would say to Mia yesterday. I don't actually know if it's gonna, like, if America became a dictatorship, I don't know if it would need to be a military dictatorship. Like, if the U.S. decided to have like a straight up military coup and tried to control all of the disparate areas of the American empire with the army, that would be overwhelming. But I do think that like just the president being president for life, like if you do it the right way, I think that they could pull it off, because there's just a pretty like critical amount of people, I think, in the U.S. who you could convince to just be like, yeah, no more elections, that's fine. Have I changed my opinion on whether or not the GOP can establish permanent one-party rule? I don't know. We'll see how those laws actually work. What are my views on achieving left unity given the disparate nature of all organizations to the left of Sanders? It seems that as regards political parties, online NGOs, etc., the left is divided. Really, it's... in many ways, I find that left unity, like left disunity, is usually what happens when the left is in a period of not really having a project to gravitate towards. Like we had like a temporary, like pretty decent left unity when, you know, Bernie Sanders was the candidate and everybody was like, you know, trying to make that happen. But without him, everybody's, yeah, there's a lot more sniping and everything like that. And honestly, a lot of times it's complaints that happen on the internet that don't really filter into real life all that well. And yeah, it's just not, I don't know, it's not a thing that I'm like, we'll see where that, like, oh, we'll see where all that goes. But like, in many ways, I think the left unity is like never really been a thing. And like the real ways that we're going to move forward is sort of like, yeah, like with projects and with campaigns and with like policy positions and things like that. Have you been looking at hydrogen energy? Korea is apparently charging hard at hydrogen engineering. I've heard a little bit about it, but I don't exactly know. Like, I know that there's like the fuel cell technology and like, yeah, the whole, I mean, a lot of hydrogen engineering is like trying to turn water into hydrogen and oxygen in some sort of energy efficient way, which I haven't heard of any good ones yet. But I haven't like read extensively about hydrogen stuff, but I do know that it is a thing that there are people in pretty powerful positions who are thinking very hard about, who know more about what they're talking about than I am. Am I aware of the hypothesis that Islam didn't really start in Mecca? It was just moved there later? I don't know about that. It's also kind of weird because Muhammad's like biography is so highly tied to like the Quraysh and the Kaaba and Mecca specifically. Like, it would be kind of weird. Common defense of Gen Z is not remembering 9/11. Do you think the factor could be the lack of close familial tie for someone who lived through World War II? Not really. Like, even millennials didn't really know a lot of people who lived through World War II. They were very old, and they're mostly dead now. I don't think that not knowing somebody who was personally connected to World War II also defines the Gen Z people. Like, I don't think it, like, our millennials' connection to World War II is tenuous at best as well. So. Alrighty, let's see if we got anything in the questions that people submitted. Scrolling. All right. Heard that hydrogen fuel cells for cars are not explosive. It actually seems more promising than electric cars, but I would have to look into more on how. Yeah, I mean, if you really, at the end of the day, a hydrogen fuel cell car is an electric car. It just has a different type of battery, really. Like, the technology is just that it uses hydrogen, and then it uses a fuel cell to mix with oxygen and produce water, and when you do that, it creates electricity. So you can carry a tank of hydrogen, which is a gas, which means it's a fluid, which is easier to, like, you know, refill on than, say, like a battery, which needs to be recharged. What can someone pay you to become? Oh, dear. Do you think it's plausible for the GOP to establish one-party rule while they're still politically relevant? Maybe. It'd be, I mean, at this point, like, they more or less have one-party rule. Like, every Democratic president since basically the early 90s has been completely, like, kowtowing to Republicans in Congress. And like, the only time where actual, like, legislation gets passed is when it's under Republican presidents. So right now, you basically have periods of Republicans pushing legislation, followed by periods where the Democrats are in charge and nothing gets passed. So, at this point, where are they even distinguished about, like, you know? Paying you to stay yourself. Thank you, Becca. I appreciate it. I will, what's it called? Thank you for the 20 British pounds. I will drink a cup of Yorkshire tea in your honor sometime tomorrow. I power my truck on cow farts or my farts. Fair. My grandpa fought in World War II. He was there when the Netherlands got liberated. That's cool. Did I delete your questions? Yes, because you already asked them in the chat. Yeah, I had a weird situation where my family all skipped World War II. The only people who I know who fought in World War II is, I think that my dad had a second cousin who died in World War II, which was before my dad was born. But, like, both my grandfathers were too young for World War II. Like, I think the grandfather that I know of, I think he was born in, like, 1928. So, he, you know, by the time he was 18, it was 1946. So, and then, I don't, I have a great grandparent who fought in World War I, but that's it. What would get the Democrats to stop bowing down to bigotry? If you have an answer, I'd be very happy. But I would say, if I had anything to say, it would probably be, you gotta change their material conditions. Like, the Democratic Party is so hopelessly dependent on wealthy donors to keep the party running. And it has created an entire culture where the entire party is made up of rich people who go into politics to get richer. And that needs to stop. And until that stops, the Democrats are going to have absolutely no interest in doing anything of substance. It's a bit too early. It's a bit early, but have you been hitting up any of the local microbreweries? Yes. It's been about a week and a half since they reopened the economy, and I have been to a little microbrewery called Toboggan, which is in downtown London, and I've been to the London Brewing Co-op, which is probably a place I go pretty regularly. Like, I have a feeling that, like, you know, that the London Brewing Co-op is probably going to be like a weekly stop for me on Sunday afternoons. So, because, like, I have a whole thing on Sunday. I don't know. Twitchy Bite, do you live in London? Are you familiar with London or something? But I go to what's it called? I go to the farmer's market on Sunday with my wife and I, and a friend of mine and his girlfriend. The four of us go out on Sundays to the farmer's market, and then we go get beers afterwards. 'Cause yeah. 'Cause there's a guy, there's a place, there's a guy named Yam who makes Nepalese dumplings at the farmer's market that are fucking great. Front Porch IPA and Heritage Wit, yeah, those are good. London Brewing. I had a friend who worked at the London Brewing Co-op a few years ago, so we used to go there all the time, and it kind of just became a habit from there on out. Let's see. Your father fought in Korea. Intense. No hope under capitalism. Well, not under it. The way it works right now, definitely not. Suppose the GOP do establish one-party rule. What do you think blue state governments will do? Complain and raise money off of it. That's my guess. That's what they usually do when the GOP establish one-party rule. They complain about it and they raise money off of their complaints. Tell me more about the dumplings. They're called momos. They're really good. I had water buffalo. What actually got gay marriage passed? In America? In America, it was a Supreme Court decision where they basically ruled that it was unconstitutional to tell people they couldn't get married. Any microbrew recommendations in Toronto? Ooh. I did not hit up that many when I was living in Toronto, I'll be honest. Why are so many doomsday preppers white nationalists? It's not so much that so many preppers become white nationalists, is that a lot of white nationalists become preppers. Because a lot of the white nationalist ideology is built around anticipating a future civil war that they will then use to create a white ethno-state. So they are thinking a lot about the opportunity to show up for them to live out their political fantasies, and so they become preppers. And, you know, prepping is kind of like a, you know, not a small enough hobby that you know, them getting into it makes it, like, you know, taken over. What comes after capitalism? Good question. I wish we knew. Am I an anime fan? Is that anime? Am I an anime fan? I mean, not really. I've tried many times. Like, there are some anime stuff that I like. Like, I really like Akira. And, like, I liked some anime shows when I was a kid. But, like, I'm finding it very hard to find animes. Like I've tried to enjoy, or what's it called? What's it called? Like, there's some movies that are good, but, like, for the most part, I haven't been able to find a series that I really enjoy. is the thing. Like, they just wear me out. Like, Attack on Titan got kind of silly. Same with what was another show I tried to watch? Death Note. Death Note got silly. Like, the thing is that, like, it seems like in animes, like a lot of animes, like they think of some central gimmick that is like core to the show, and build the entire show around that. And sometimes they go to ridiculous lengths to make sure that everything happens the same way. Like, I can name the scene where Attack on Titan no longer interested me, which was when, because like the whole thing is based around like urban combat by using these like pneumatic powered grappling hooks to like zip around at heights in order to hit the things on the back of their head or the back of their neck. And there's this one scene where like they're being chased by a bunch of these things in a field, or by one of them in a field. And I was like, oh shit, this might be interesting, because I have to figure out how to kill a Titan without buildings to do. It's like watching Spider-Man fight in a field, and they're like, no, let's go over into that giant redwood forest so that we could still have the fight like the way that we need to have it. And I was like, this is okay, come on. It's like Death Note. Death Note just got like really convoluted at a certain point, and then when things were when they ran out of things to do, they just like added a new character, which I thought was silly. So Collective Arts is a great place in Burlington. Yeah, I like Burlington. I like well, I haven't been to Collective Arts. Nickelbrook is the what's it called? They make I used to make beer at Nickelbrook. Because I grew up in Burlington. Burlington's my hometown. So I grew up in Burlington, and Nickelbrook used to be a brew your own beer place that then turned into a microbrewery. So pretty happy with that. If they start telling them to do stuff they don't want to do, will they start ignoring the federal government? I suppose the GOP-dominated government tries to tell Washington, California they have to ban all drugs and abortion. I don't know. I feel like Democrats are not strong-willed enough to worry about that. Hey, thank you. Hello, Irene. I haven't heard from you in a while. Hello, all of Irene's viewers. Welcome aboard. Hope you had a good stream. We're talking about breweries in my hometown of Burlington, Ontario. So, but Nickelbrook was a good one. Great place to get beer in Burlington is Pepperwoods, which is kind of down by the lake. I like that one a lot. Yeah. If they start telling them to do stuff they don't want to... I still think... Okay, so this whole thing about the Democrats, like, if the GOP became dictators of the federal government and they started telling... started making Democratic states start passing all these regressive... Like, doing all this regressive stuff, what would they do? And my thing is, I think that the Democrats wouldn't do anything. They would send... Here's what they would do. This would be their strategy. They would send out emails, and they would tell people to call their congressmen and tell them to stop putting in the the mass murder of all the people they don't like bill. And then when that doesn't do anything, they'll start sending fundraising emails about how bad the Republicans are and how you should send us money to stop it, but they won't do anything about it. Like, the Democrats, at the end, just do not give a shit about money, or about anything but money. What actually made the ones in power decide to give it to us in America? In America, gay marriage more or less became legal because it passed the threshold of being majority popular. So it was too mainstream popular for them to for them not walk away, and the Democrats could use that W to claim some social justice cred so that they could get more elections and pass more tax breaks. Were the anime shows you liked as a kid Pokemon, Digimon, and Yu-Gi-Oh? I was a bit too old for Yu-Gi-Oh. Pokemon and Digimon, especially Digimon's first 2 seasons, those were legit. And also Gundam Wing was a one that, and Dragon Ball Z, those were pretty big when I was a kid. And out of all of those, I think that Gundam Wing, despite the fact that I think it was pretty like everyone tells me that it's bad, it holds a special place in my heart, and like I can still name all of the pilots and the what's it called, the 5 Gundams they had on that show, and I really liked it. So I don't even know how people feel about Gundam Wing. I've been told that a lot of anime fans think it's bad, but I don't know. Is there a worse geeky fandom than anime? I love anime, but it's the one community where non-outliers recommend literal CP as a joke. Oh, God. Anime's definitely got some problems for that kind of shit. Are musicians bourgeoisie? They're very rich, but they don't fit into the traditional bourgeois relation to their property. I don't know why I'm asking this. I mean, I think that it's not a, you know, these things are not, if anything, they'd be considered petit bourgeoisie. Like, kind of like the thing you put under, like, you know, individuals who own their own businesses, where they're still working and they still are making money off of their own labor. But they are, like, owners of businesses, you know? Do I think the regular citizens in blue states would do anything? Depends upon how bad things get. If things got pretty bad, like in my mind, unless like there's a lot of people who are socially progressively minded, where as long as they are materially comfortable, push comes to shove, they're not going to do stuff that's going to get them in trouble to affect positive change. Like, there's a lot of people who would be like, I'm pro-choice, but if the government forced abortion to be illegal, like, I'm not going to get one, so therefore I'm not going to, like, I'm not someone who's going to put my life on the line to try and defend people's right to choose. 'Cause, yeah. So things have to get pretty bad before there's, like, some, like, real, you know, like, revolutionary change. Definitely be big protests, probably some Occupy Wall Street type stuff. But in the end, like, liberals would set aside and let the police just run down their camps, so. How do I feel like history is represented in the anime Hetalia? I've never seen Hetalia. You should watch Gundam War in the Pocket. It's only 6 episodes, anti-war as fuck. Okay. Have you done a video on the Troubles in Ireland? Would you do a video about what happened with Corbyn and the media in the UK? I feel like I'm not the person to talk about what happened with Corbyn and the media in the UK. I definitely have, I have a plan to make a video someday called, about Bernie Sanders. It might be coming out in July. I don't know. I have to see how the poll is going. But, I feel like Corbyn would get mentioned in that because you have to talk about how the media, like, worked with liberals to torpedo the Sanders campaign in the same way that happened with Corbyn, even more so. That the media, it seemed like the media in the UK was basically in the pocket of the Conservative Party and has been for ages. As for the Troubles in Ireland, no, I've never made any video about Ireland at all, I don't think. Not saying that I wouldn't do it, but it's just like... I always think when it's like on a subject that I've never read anything about, that like the time it would take for me to get good enough to make a video on it, like somebody else could definitely do a better one. That's my like thought. Suppose the GOP established one-party rule. How long is that sustainable? So here's the thing about single-party rule, and this happens everywhere where one party is in control for too long, is that it gets very corrupt. And in many ways, like, and they also start to become less and less ideological. So, like, if a party is singularly in control of a country and they have no threat of losing elections, they tend to stop caring very much about the ideological positions that got them there. And they tend to care more about basically using the government to get themselves rich. So, if there was anything that would happen about, like, Republicans... if a Republicans establish one-party rule, you'd probably start to see like a progressive side of the Republican Party start to show up in the internal struggle or the internal politics of the GOP. And at the same time, you would probably have within a decade or two, like anti-corruption. You have corruption issues and like corruption protests and stuff like that. That wouldn't be about ideology; it'd just be about like how like, oh, wow, the Republican president who's been in for like 6 terms has like, changed everything so that he's personally enriched himself. Like that kind of stuff would piss people off at a certain point. Whew. I want to see if I get any good vibes on. Does anyone? Was Gundam Wing a thing? Does that happen in Russia? Russia, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in Russia. I mean, Russia seems to have a lot of protesters, but I don't. It seems like every time there's like a major like protest leader in Russia, they end up being like nationalists. So, like, it seems like Putin gets attacked more from the right than he does from the left in Russia, which is really weird. But that also could just be the fact that I don't live in Russia and I don't speak Russian, so I don't really know like what's going on in the country at the given time. I love your hair. Thank you, Hatoko. It's driving me nuts. It does look It does look pretty fun. It is fun to look at, but it is. This is the longest my hair has ever been, and it is driving me insane. And I really wanna have a buzz cut again soon. But what's it called? You still can't get a haircut in Ontario. Ooh. See if we have any more questions submitted. Nope. So now I'm just working with the chat. Just got to riff off you guys. But it's beautiful. Well, I mean, this I've never super enjoyed this hair, but I appreciate it. Can your wife cut it? I buzzed my head to cut my wife's hair. It wasn't that hard to learn. I mean, maybe. The thing is that my buzzer is my buzzer is what's it called? It's very dull. The blades are very dull because I've had it for many years, and yeah, I don't know if I want to like. I also like think I want to get like a decent like a haircut done by an expert because I do show up. I do the like streams and I make videos and stuff. So if I were a potato, how would I want to be prepared? Oh, twice baked. Those things fucking rule, and that means that they take time and care to put together. Oh boy. All right. Man. If I were in soup, I'd be tomato soup. I'd probably be New England clam chowder. That shit's bussin'. I used to love New England clam chowder so much. You're about to get baked for a second time right now. Sweet. Good job, Mark. I'm proud of you. Did I say it correctly? Is that the proper way to say bussin'? That something's very tasty? I'm not, I am in my 30s, so I don't know these words, how to use them properly. We've had our disagreements, but when people say China is not capitalist because the governor executes billionaires, I say kings execute nobles. Was Europe not feudal? I guess, like, I don't know. I have issues with calling China communists myself, so Go for it. I don't think a communist country would have billionaires personally. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Have you heard the latest internet rumor that an alien armada is approaching Earth, and that's why Biden and Harris are super stressed out, and you can visually see it? That's a new one. Oh man, what is this? Alien armada approaching Earth? I gotta Google this. We're gonna go on a little adventure, everybody. Ruth, I gotta find where is this coming from? Is this real? I need to Google this. I need to find out. Alien invasion. Let's see. News. Insurance coverage for an alien invasion. What is... Okay. Contacting aliens can end all life on Earth. Let's stop trying. Okay. Ruth Martinez, how could you give me such a wonderful internet rumor that an alien armada is approaching Earth, and you don't give me give me a link? I need to see this. I need to see the story. This sounds way too fun to not read. If the U.S. becomes a one-party dictatorship, do you think they'd let democracy continue in other countries? I mean, they don't exactly do it right now. That's the main reason I care about U.S. politics, even though I don't live there. I mean, America doesn't really let... Like, I own it, like, America lets countries have democracy, but only if the only choices are right-wing. Like, I am not... Like, if Canada had a serious socialist revolution, there would be a coup led by the United States. Like, for sure. You know, Evo Morales, freaking, you know, what's his face, in Venezuela. Like, I do think that, like... I do even think that, like, what's it called? That the United States probably put some money into nuking Jeremy Corbyn's campaign. And if Jeremy Corbyn had won the election, I don't know what would have happened to him, because I don't think they would have let that continue. So, like, I think that just the countries that, you know, have a very limited scope of political outcomes that fit what they want, they let have democracy. Everything else, like, no. Maduro. Nicolas Maduro. Yeah, sorry. It's like I don't know. To say, like, would the United States let democracy continue? And it's like they have been, like, one of the number one... they're like... The United States is probably, like, one of the number one forces in suppressing democracy globally today, so... Greeks from Chile. Oh, thank you, Lorenza. Muchas gracias. And yeah, my voice is what's it called? My Spanish is very silly because I live in the Americas in the Western Hemisphere, and when I go to Spanish-speaking countries and where I speak Spanish, I almost exclusively go to Latin American countries. Every single Spanish-speaking country I've ever been to has been a Latin American country. Or I guess unless the Caribbean doesn't count. But the way that I learned Spanish was from a Spanish teacher, like a Spaniard teacher. And so I learned all of my Spanish with like the I learned Spanish with like the Spanish like lispy accent, and it makes me sound like a weirdo every time I speak Spanish. So I would have to say, what countries have I traveled to? I have been to I've been to Canada, the United States, Mexico, the Dominican Republic, the UK, and France. That's all the countries I've been to. But I will say muchas gracias because I sound like a Spaniard when I go. When I speak Spanish. What's my second language? French. Spanish is my third language. It's not very good. My Spanish is very bad. My French is also not great, I'll be honest, but it's better than my Spanish. Do I agree with Bad Bunny that America has the worst fan base? I mean, you're not wrong. People, what's it called? Patriots of all kinds are kind of cringe, but patriots for the United States, dear God. You just not paying attention or something? Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, my French is very Canadian. This is true. When I speak French, I learned it in Quebec, so I have very Quebecois type, speaking. How much of the left is pro-China, and why is that proportion attached to what is clearly an imperialist, borderline fascist surveillance state? Good question. I don't know how much of the left is pro-China. It's so hard because there's like a lot of times there's like a segment of the left that is their position is to side with whoever America is not sided with, and that everybody who's not America is good because they're not America, and only America can do bad things, which is like not true. But and that, because China calls itself communist, there are some people who are like, well, then, we must defend it at all costs, which is, not the best way. Like, what's it called? You shouldn't do that. That's my take. I don't know how many there are, though. Not many people that I know who are not through Twitter.com actively try to defend China regularly. If the UK elects a moderate social democratic leader, do you think they'd let that stand? They'd probably just do a coup. Like, the US, when they don't like what a government is, like, America already is basically fascist in many ways. Because it really only has two political parties with virtually the same politics on most things. So, and when they do disagree, it's mostly on things that the Democratic Party says that they support, but don't actually do anything to support. So they're not really serious about it, obviously. So my guess is that there'd be coups. Or just, they would just challenge the legitimacy of the election. Because, like, America, like, democracy is so important to, like, America's self-image that in my mind, like, they would have to have, like, sham elections at the very least. Something. So that they can say that they can still say they're free. My main Spanish phrase is, lo siento, solamente hablo un poquito de español y muy mal. Okay. Fair. Basically saying, sorry, I only speak a little bit of Spanish and I'm very bad. Sheer desperation for an example of anything other than capitalism, even if it's obviously state capitalist. Yeah, there's something to that. What countries do I like? Like, what do you mean, Echo Baz? Like, as in, like... Because I have lots of countries that I just like going to. I like the culture. I like the food. Stuff like that. Like, but, like, if it's, like, the politics, then, like, no. I don't like any countries. I don't like any countries if it's, like, you have to like their politics. But, like, I fucking love Mexico. I've been to Mexico, like, many times. At least 5 or 6 times. And I have always enjoyed myself. And, like, spending time with my Mexican friends when I was there, it's just, like... It's such, like, there's so much fun stuff to do. I love the colors. I love the, what's it called? I love the, like, the holidays and the festivals and the, like, you know, the stuff like that. Politics is what I meant. Yeah, I can't. As an anarchist, I don't really think there are such things as good countries. Does it mean I'm right to care about the U.S. politics more than the U.K.'s? My parents get mad at me for that sometimes. I mean, I would argue that if we in the West are ever to have a socialist government that actually makes changes, that won't have a leader die of being shot in the back. Like we won't if we are able if Canada or the UK is ever to have a real socialist leader that won't commit suicide by getting shot in the back 6 times, yeah, you have to change American politics first. So because they'll just gladio you. Like America already showed during the Cold War that they are willing to fund basically anything to make sure that left-wing governments never come to power, so. Everyone compares the current U.S. to Germany in the 1930s. I think modern Russia is more of an accurate model where they might end up. Yeah, that's pretty true. Like Russia is a pretty good case study where just like one political party just keeps getting elected. They just keep tweaking with term limits in order to keep like the same few people in power forever. Yeah, Russia's actually a pretty good comparison. Would America have to be anarcho-communist before any country can actually be that without immediately being overthrown? No, I actually think that, like, America could, like, if America just had, like, a Bernie Sanders type president, I think that the rest of the world could actually have socialist, like socialist governments that could actually make really big changes, and the U.S. wouldn't just, like, you know, do an Operation Gladio on them. How anarchist communities defend themselves from state violence, similar to the Vietnamese? Do you think there could have been a cultural identity like patriotism or shared culture? I mean, I think that they would have a shared, like, you know, desire for freedom type thing. And yeah, there have been anarchist organizations that have had, you know, militaries to defend themselves. Like the CNTFAI had a military, and they worked well. So there's that. And yeah, like the Vietnamese were able to fight asynchronous. Like if you're fighting a bigger army, there are things that you can do. It's called asynchronous warfare. It's not pretty, but it is a thing you can do. Because all you have to do is make it invading you more trouble than it's worth, basically. Let's talk about fictional elites. You can argue from a peasant's perspective, Stark rule is more oppressive than that of the Lannisters. I don't know. I don't know what the Starks... I'm trying to remember my, like, Song of Ice and Fire world. The Lannisters, I don't know, like... I find, in many ways, I don't think Lannister or Stark rule would be any different in a lot of ways. I guess, like, a little bit more fluidity with the law, because the Starks were, like, hard asses, so there's that. But I can't think of anything, like, really beyond that. But thank you for the super chat, J-Lord. Since when does the CIA ask the president's permission to do anything? That's true. Can you mention the left's interest in dictatorships like Syria, North Korea, and China, groups like the terrorist group YPG? Well, A lot of times, I think we just talked about this. A lot of times, it's it's supporting whatever the U.S. is against, whatever is against the United States, and by process of elimination, because they're against the United States, they must be good. But I have never, ever heard of what's it called? I'm not going to buy into your statement that the YPG are somehow are terrorists. I don't know where the fuck that comes from. Rojava fucking rules. So, yeah. Rojava's like one of the best things that's happened politically in the last decade. Come on. Asymmetric. Did I say asynchronous warfare? Sorry. Asymmetric. Wow. I'm having a real good one tonight. My brain's working real nice. Well, when the U.S. stops being the biggest economy on Earth, will it diminish their ability to enforce their ideology on their governments? It will definitely diminish their ability to do that, yeah. But the U.S. still is like extraordinarily overinvested in the military. Like, it would take quite a bit for the U.S. economy to shrink so much that they're not the hugest military. They can't field the largest military on Earth. Would the Democrats get rid of the Republicans to have a single party? If anything, I have a feeling like if the Democrats got rid of the Republicans, it would probably blow apart the Democratic Party in a lot of ways. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people in the Democratic Party, basically like every left wing, like the left wing of the Democratic Party, that if it wasn't for the fact that the Republicans exist, would not be in the same party. So if the Democrats ever ousted the Republicans and the Republicans failed to be a party, my guess is that because, just because you outed a political party doesn't mean you out a political opinion. So in my mind, the Democrats would probably just become the conservative party, and there would probably be some sort of progressive party that takes up the mantle of the left, most likely. America's military is owned by the private military industrial corporations. Good luck with the U.S. using their drones and guidance systems if those corporations switch sides. Yeah, fair. Aside from the sweatshop... What do I think of the single voter transfer? Like, ranked choice voting type thing? It's better than, like, first past the post, but it still tends to gravitate towards two major political parties. And I would rather something more like proportional representation. I don't really see why people are so hung up on needing to have, like, a local representative. I don't think there's a point. What happens when it starts making more economic sense for countries to be closer to China, but also doing so might alienate the U.S.? I mean, that's already starting to happen. Canada's already talked about sort of, especially during the Trump years, we're talking about trying to, not so much rely on the United States as our ally as we used to. But we were more looking at, like, the European Union and stuff, which, tough luck on that one, huh? The other would probably be like the fact that like you've seen this, like Russia basically has done that. Russia has pulled out of like a lot of agreements with the West and are now sort of getting closer to China. And so, yeah, I think it's going to happen. Is it okay to kiss on the first date? I mean, as long as they consent to it, then yeah. Hakim is an Iraqi Marxist-Leninist YouTuber who was recently talking about distrust of the Rojava movement and the Uyghur genocide narrative. Fun. That guy sounds like a real fun dude. Is it okay? Yeah, the best question yet. Yeah, for sure. You definitely need a guy who looks like he has a lion's mane to give you advice on dating. This is the look of a person who goes on lots of dates. Who did a lot of girl kissing in his days. Sigma historian. The lion's mane makes you look potent, obviously. Oh, man. Damn. Where is the cat? No cats in here. Phoebes has been partial to hanging out in the living room these days. So she hangs out downstairs more often. And Romeo tends to hang out in the bedroom. Sometimes he's in here. He sometimes comes in here to hang out, but he's not here right now. What's my favorite color of dragons? Ooh, I like black dragons. In D&D, black dragons are like these swamp acid dragons, and I have a soft spot for any monster that does acid damage, so I'll go with that. It's pronounced Uyghur, and pronouncing it as Uyghur is Chinese state propaganda. Interesting. I did not know that. Don't you talk about just... Well, I will say that I just do some math in my head. I think I married the fourth person that I ever dated. So I wasn't exactly, out playing the dating game that much, Have I ever heard of the Muslim feminist Rakhil Raza? No, I haven't. If you had to bet, do you think the GOP would be able to establish the kind of one-party rule I'm talking about by the end of the decade? Basically, I'm asking if I'm catastrophizing again. I mean, you're catastrophizing a little bit. We haven't seen how any of these laws are actually going to play out. Is that a cat pan behind you? Do you make your cats poop on stream? There might be privacy issues there. No, that is, yeah, there is a cat box behind me, but they never, this one, first of all, I try to keep it out of sight, but also, there's no cats in here right now, and the door is closed. So, there's that, and also, the cats never use this cat box anyway. If someone has never played D&D before, what sources would you recommend for them to learn more about the game? Oh, Laura, I've got the perfect answer for you. I actually, I have run a lot of D&D. I've probably run several hundred sessions at this point. And one of the things that and almost every D&D campaign that I have run, I've been introducing new players to the game. So, I'll share this with you. I actually have made a playlist that I have for introducing people to Dungeons and Dragons. So, I'll put a link in the chat, but this is the link I use whenever I want to show somebody Dungeons and Dragons. Like, if they're interested, if they want to try playing a one-shot with me, I send them this playlist to kind of give them an idea of what everything's about. So, that's sort of the, that's what I always recommend. It is... Are these streams now all about D&D? Well, it's sort of sometimes people ask me questions about it and I want to answer. It's definitely the thing that I'm it's my one hobby that I it's like one of the very few things I do for fun, and it's a very big, it's like my number one artistic outlet that's not YouTube. So I enjoy talking about it whenever the opportunity comes up. But there's a lot of people in my chat and in my audience that really hate when I talk about it. So I try to, talk about it intensely and then shortly, because I know, I don't know, there's people who are mad that I like talking about playing pretend with dice because it's super fun. How long will it take for climate collapse to destroy the U.S.? I don't know. I think anybody who does know is lying to you, but we'll see. We're already seeing like some major issues this summer with like has anyone seen that there's going to be like this thing called a heat dome that's going to like just destroy the American Northwest? And then there's this massive drought, and there's going to be, apparently there might be a standoff with Eamon Bundy over water. So it's going to be bananas. Why does the U.S. let Nordic social democracies exist? Because they're social democracies. They're not socialist. They're capitalist countries at the end of the day. So they let them get by. Talk about what you want, your channel. Yeah, someone with a name like Drizzt would say that. Trying to change me with your dark elf ways. The ones who are mad are just jealous they don't know how to play. That's what I would say. You don't watch shows for movies or movies for fun? I do, but like I don't have like, to me, like I watch TV shows and movies. I don't really watch that many TV shows and movies when I'm not with my wife. Like like if I was just completely on my own and given my own like, you know, like under my own direction, how would I entertain myself? Watching something is not typically a thing I do. I know that's super weird, but it's just like there's not a lot of TV shows that like really get the dopamine going for me. And so it's rare when I find a show that I'm like really, really into that I really want to watch. The last one for me was Invincible. Invincible was really good, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. But Dungeons and Dragons, like preparing for D&D and playing D&D, is very it takes up a lot of my brain space. Which D&D creator do you think has been more instrumental in shaping the game's design? James Dungeons or Tony Dragons? Best, excellent. What's the best way to send me a message? Probably an email. If you go to the About tab on my channel, there's an email. You can send me an email. Fact. Thank you, Zombie Man. I appreciate you. Why wouldn't they be willing to let our countries go sock dem? They might. They might. How much money do you want to... How much money do you have to spend to make you do an Anarchist Historian Reacts to Hetalia video series? I don't even know what that is. It's an anime, that's all I know. Is that anime where, like, all of the countries in World War II are, like, personified as a person? I have heard about that, but I don't know very much about it. If you have Netflix, watch Lupin. I can't speak for season 2, but the first is fun. Okay. Lupin, huh? Right now, the TV show that I'm really into, that I'm really digging, is Harley Quinn. I have been watching Harley Quinn. That is fun. And Loki is also kind of fun. So I do... Harley Quinn is a fun show. What other show am I watching right now? I don't even know. Like, if I were to watch a TV... Because the thing is, like, Harley Quinn was a show I was watching with my... I was watching on my own, but then my wife wanted to watch it, so now we're watching it together, so I don't really have a show to watch on my own. I guess I'm watching Shadow and Bone. That was the show. I watched the first episode of that, I guess. Yo, Tristan, is there somewhere to learn about doing D&D and fantasy races without blindly reproducing racist stereotypes? Kinda. the main thing is there's a book. I'm trying to remember which one it is. I think it's Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's a newish Dungeons and Dragons book that changes the way that races are done. So now you can sort of like make it work any way that you want, and so there isn't like this sort of like stereotypes about like a race's like stats and stuff like that anymore. So that's a step forward. But but like for the most part, like it's not, there's nothing really, I can't think of anything right now that's like really, really good in what you're kind of going for. You kind of just have to be creative. Play this demo for a visual novel called Terrorizing, where Black Elves are an allegory for Africans being enslaved by colonists. Makes me wonder if R.A. Salvatore is a closeted racist. I think there's a good chance. I don't know. Dark Elf, like, I don't know. Drow are their own whole thing. I don't know if R.A. Salvatore was doing that. Because the thing is that, like, Dark Elves are from, like, elves are from Norse mythology, and dark elves are from Norse mythology. So, my guess is that they went in different directions with the same mythological thing. But I don't think the mythological thing has anything to do with like being a like racism metaphor. Like Drizzt is a drow. Drow are dark elves. Dark elves are based off of black elves from Norse mythology, which are just evil elves. And so it's just like that. It's a throne thing. They're probably they're drawing upon the same mythology though, probably. Suppose climate change destroys everyday life in the U.S. Will the U.S. military-industrial complex be able to carry on regardless? I mean, depends upon if they need people working in those factories to make all the bombs and guns and stuff. Hard to tell someone just read the Dark Elf trilogy, LO. I haven't read any of the Salvatore novels because I'm not, like, super, like... I don't know. I haven't found the Forgotten Realms all that fascinating, to be honest. The first thing I did when I got into D&D was invent my own setting, so... but I know there are people who really, really like the Salvatore novels. The only thing I really know about the Drow, because they haven't really released a whole bunch of them, I think they're planning on doing an adventure in the future, but, like, the only thing I know about the Drow is that they're sort of like a YouTube atheist worst nightmare, because, like, they're an actual misandrist society where men are literally a lower tier of people than yeah. How much do you let worrying about the future affect how you plan your life? In many ways, I should, but I don't, because I can't really predict the future beyond, symbol. In some ways, like, I've let some choices, like, I don't own a car for that reason. I don't have any desire to live outside of, like, the urban core of a city for that reason. I've gotten into, like, prepping and stuff like that because of, They worship Shar and Lulth. Yes! Yeah, in my setting, what's it called? The elves have 3 gods. They have the neutral god, the evil god, and the good god. And the 3 different types of elves worship those 3 different gods, but there's like an underground movement to try and bring the 3 together and reunite their species. So that's fun. With Lulth, Corellian, and the Raven Queen as the 3 gods. Oh, if you are a fan of Dark Elf stuff, I'll show you something cool. My wife got me this. I don't know if that's going to focus or not, but that is... My wife got me this mini to paint whenever I get good at painting minis, and this is a Drider, which is drow spidery thing. So look forward to painting that one at some point. Thoughts on the mayoral primary? Today is election day. I haven't thought about it much. I'm not a New Yorker. I don't really know too much. I know that Andrew Yang used to be a favorite, but now he's not, so that's good news. What's my stance on the ethics of breeding in the current world? So we're not overpopulation is not. I'm not buying into any antinatalist bullshit. Like, I don't think that is in no way our way to save the world. Everybody grows up in weird and strange times, and so I'm never going to tell anybody to not have kids. That would be, first of all, it's none of your business, and second, it's like all of the things that people say about overpopulation are not true. Speaking of the future, think those in power will do anything substantial to stop climate change? I am curious if that's going to be a thing. Like, in my mind, climate change seems to, like, dealing with climate change is going to be a thing that's like, can the material conditions of our economic world really, like, push our political economy to change the way that it needs to before things get too far? And my gut instinct to that is probably not. We're probably going to go over the cliff, but just by a little bit. And if I were to hazard a guess, that we'll probably get to some sort of equilibrium, but it will be after having done permanent damage to the biosphere. If I were to, like, really, because we like right now, some parts of our economy, like our material reality is starting to change in ways that are at least hopeful. The fact that solar panels have dropped in price and have become way more efficient. The fact that, like, we have chemists working on fucking, like, artificial, what's it called? Photosynthesis as, like, a possible, like, doing chemistry to make electricity. Like, there's ways that we could, I think that things are going in a direction that's too slow, and I think that we're gonna get there, but it's gonna be a bit too slow to prevent some, like, real damage. I mean, the world is so awful now, it's wrong to bring kids into it. I mean, the world is, the world is definitely in crisis. It is always in crisis. To say that the world is all awful is to ignore a lot of life. Like, the world is having some major problems. There is a lot of major things wrong with the world. There is injustice in a lot of places. But to say the world is bad, or to say the world is, like, terrible right now, I wouldn't say is true. There's, like, people still are, you know, people still are living life, falling in love, and it turns out that there's this whole thing about psychology, and that is, even in the best, you know, to a certain degree, in many different types of circumstances, our enjoyment of life always tends to default towards a certain mean, and everyone just kind of feels okay about life, no matter what they're, you know, like, or, you know, as long as, like, you know, they're not worried about, like, survival. And so, yeah. Our population, there's so many other issues with bringing kids into the world, but at the end of the day, it's impossible to stop kids from being born. Yeah. All right. But I'm not, like, an antinatalist. I don't think that the solution to all of the world's problems is that we should, like, you know, voluntarily go extinct. And like, you know, in general, I do want, you know, the human race to survive a few more centuries. You know, it'd be great if we could get through the crises that we're living right now. And I would prefer to live in a world where, you know, I'd prefer to live in a world where, what's it called? Where humans are still existing, you know? And so I'm not for voluntarily going extinct. And for that to be the case, if for us to not go extinct, we're going to need people to keep living. And so, yeah. I'm not giving up on humanity yet. Oh, man, everyone's being armchair philosophers right now. But I think that I'm in no position to tell other people what they are to do, and also, you know, I don't know, like, what's it called? There are worse things you could do. That's all I'm gonna say. So we got any more, we're in the last, like, 5 minutes of the stream. So has anyone got any burning fun questions? The videos and your positive outlook inspire me to not give up either. Well, thank you. I'm glad that some people think that, that, you know, I have a positive outlook. I try in every video to have some sort of positive takeaway at the end. And, I mean, you can't really be an anarchist if you don't believe that fundamentally everybody wants to love and get along with each other, and we just seem to be getting in our own ways. So, I do hope. I do have a lot of hope for humanity. We might fuck it up, but, you know, we also might not. And, you know, I always think of children as sort of like a sign of hope. You know, who should win Euro 2021? I think the winner of Euro 2021 is going to be SARS-CoV-19. That's my theory. I think they're gonna get the biggest score from Euro 2021. Ever consider doing a video on the CIA? John Dulles is a creepy dude. Yeah, I would like to do that. That'd be good. Thoughts on Children of Men? I haven't read it and I haven't seen the movie, so I actually couldn't say much. I know vaguely what it's about. That's the movie where there's basically people can't have children anymore and society is aging, but I don't really know. I don't really know like where it goes from there. Thoughts on compulsory democracy? You mean compulsory democracy? I don't believe in that. No. Will Quebec try to separate again? Probably not for a long time. I feel like that movement is well past its prime, and it would need a whole new nationalist movement to really build it up again, and it would require like some massive. It would require a massive like flare up between Canada and Quebec again, which we're not like really in a spot where that seems likely. So. Oh, man. All right. Oh. I almost want to watch this D&D playlist again. I love it so much. It's an introduction and then all the rules, and it's what the playlist is it's an introduction to Dungeons and Dragons made by Matt Colville, and then it's this wonderful series on the rules of 5th edition, and then it finishes with the the first episode of the second campaign of Critical Role. Straighten your picture. No. My mom told me to straighten the picture, so I made it even more crooked. I don't know if you noticed, but I made it even more crooked. So that's fun. What's the thing with homeless people in Toronto? There's a homeless shelter that, like, not a shelter. It's like a homeless encampment that the police tried to clear today. I don't exactly know how it went down, but sounds like maybe it didn't get cleared. I don't know. It's in Toronto. It's 2 hours from here. Like, yeah. Alrighty. We are close to the end of the stream, so let me see if we can find someone to raid. Who are we gonna raid tonight, friends? Let's see. Let's see what we got going. That was Twitter, not Twitch. Need Twitch. There we go. Oh, let's raid Jack Saint. Everyone likes Jack Saint. All right, everybody. I'll be back next week. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And I will see you guys. There'll hopefully be a new video by the time I do the next stream. So, peace.